Yeah, hi there. Hey, I'm just about to do major sort of rebuild or replacement of our engines and our sail drives. So what I thought I would do is just like a video the whole process, so anybody else needs to do it. They've sort of got a record of all the mistakes that I probably make, and then they don't make them in the future. So today there's a few processes to this. I'm actually getting the boat hauled out next week, and then that's when the process will start. But I'm just trying to do all the pre stuff before that happens. So the question I get the most is why am I changing the engines? And I am changing the engines and also upgrading from 57 horsepower to 80 horsepower. And there's a couple of reasons, and also the sail drives. So my sail drives are broken. My starboard sail drive started to slip a year or so ago. I actually rebuilt that before we went from sort of New Zealand up to Fiji last season, and it worked. You know, we were able to rebuild it. It worked, but it is slipping again now. So they do say about 3,000 hours that those SD60 sail drives have some issues. So it just makes more sense to replace them now. And then part of that process for me, I thought, right, well, the engines are also, it's a 2015 boat, so the engines are 7 years old, 8 years old, run perfectly fine, and at 3,000 hours probably have another 10-20,000 hours of time in a diesel motor like that if you look after it. But for me, I'm quite time poor, and I've still got to fit all this in around sort of work and travel and other things. So what I wanted to do was just put new motors in, so that if I'm up in the next 4 or 5 years, our aim is to sort of do the cruising season up in Fiji and the islands and Vanuatu and Tonga and stuff. Is just not to have any issues. I just can do without being up in the islands, and I don't know, a valve getting thrown or something happened and I'm just stuck for parts or whatever before I go or we do anything. So I just thought, well, I'll put new engines in, and I'll also put larger engines in, and the rationale there is that they're more fuel efficient. So the bigger the engine you have, the bigger prop you can have, and therefore the less fuel you use going faster. And we had quite bad weather going up to Fiji and coming back last year, so I just thought, right, if there are periods where I could motor faster, it'll probably cost less than all the equipment and things that break once you start hitting 5-meter waves and 40-knot winds. So that's the underlying logic, and obviously I can sell the existing engines; they run really well, so it's sort of a bit of benefit. So yeah, so that's the reason, and I'll just show you what I've done with the panels first off. Yep. So what I've done here is I've switched out the B25 controls that come as default with the Leopard, and put in C35s, which come with the new engines. Obviously the main thing here is that these have far more useful controls, which are the engine temperature and oil pressure are the two things that you really need to keep an eye on, because they're the two things. If the oil pressure gets too low, the engine's going to blow up, and if the temperature gets too high, you've got the same problem, right? So these panels just switched in. I had to cut out with the template. You see, I haven't quite, it's a little bit cut out there. I've got to put some sealant on here, but I still haven't changed out the loom, so I won't fully seal it until I've done everything. Only thing I had to move was the fuel gauges, which I've stuck up here on the main sort of panel, so I didn't really want to drill any holes further anymore into the fiberglass, and so I've put them in there. Yeah, but a pretty straightforward process. Just unclips, dig out the hole a bit bigger, and then they just you just clip in the same connectors on the loom. Okay, so here are all the parts that I've got together for this complete replacement of engines and sail drives. So over here I've got a couple of sail drives. I'll just look at those in a minute and get them off. I've got one of the engines unpacked here. There's the other engine. So I've got the two engines. I've also got some brand new Gory folding props, and I've actually got a whole bunch of anti-foul, because I'm going to get it anti-fouled at the same time as getting it out. So next mission, unpack sail drives and have a look and see what configuration they're in. Okay, just going to unbox this and then see the configuration. So it's sort of in an L shape rather than the C shape, so I've got to turn this around and face it aft. So I watched a video on Ruby Rose doing this the other day. It looked pretty straightforward, so yeah, let's try and do that first. So here's that SD60 upside down, and as you can see, it's the wrong configuration for us. The engine would be coming in there, coming up, and the prop would actually be pointing forward. So I need to turn this whole assembly here around 180. So to do that, I've just got to undo these Allen keys and get them off, and then turn it around. Now it is actually filled with oil, so this has to be done upside down like this, so all the oil doesn't fall out. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to turn this 180 degrees. So it's going to be pointed aft. I watched the Ruby Rose guys do this, and all they did was literally just turn this like this. Just keep weight on it, mate. Don't case it. Right, so that is now facing aft. So I managed to turn that around, so quick sanity check now. It's in neutral. If I turn that shaft, nothing's happening at the sail drive. If I put it in the equivalent of forward position, turn this clockwise, which is the way that it would go in the motor, then that is turning anti-clockwise. That's what I want. Put it in reverse, turn that clockwise, and sail drive is also turning clockwise. Okay, next part of this mission is to just test installing these gory folding props onto the sail drive. So apparently I've just got to undo these Allen key nuts here, and then use this tool to undo the end, and then I'll see what happens, and then we'll take it from there. So I just got this prop in place. That would be tightened up. I'm lacking the nut, so it doesn't have the right size nut. It needs a 20mm nut, which I'll go and grab tomorrow. But just explain the gory prop, why I kind of went for a gory prop, gory folding prop, was the overdrive feature mainly. So it doesn't seem to be too much between whether I'm getting a feathering prop or whether you're getting a folding prop. I mean, you can argue all day long. I could read 100 articles on each of the benefits of each one. But with this, if you look at this in situ, the engine's going to rotate clockwise in here. That's going to make this go anti-clockwise, and you can see the sort of leading edge there. So this is it in the way that you would normally operate it. Now, if you go into reverse, I'll try and do this with one hand. What happens is when you go into reverse, this turns right through itself, so you get the same efficiency in reverse. So now it's going to go clockwise and do that. Now it's got an overdrive feature which you enable, which basically gives you a longer pitch. So in our use case scenario of, say, sailing to Fiji and wanting to motor on the calm days, so trying to pick a window where we get 2 or 3 calm days, this overdrive feature will give us maybe 20-30% more efficiency on those days. And the way that it does it is you stick it into reverse, and then you drive forward, and it actually opens up and stays in this reverse configuration with the leading edge on that side, and that gives you a much longer pitch. And so basically you can go the same speed at 1800 RPMs as you would go at 2300 if you were keeping in the other configuration. So that overdrive feature, you can't go really above that 1800 because you could overpower everything. So, but you know, a heap less fuel. So that's the reason we went for this this version. Then this is a 20-inch. I don't know where it says it now. Whatever it is. There we go. That's a 20 by. There we go. 20 by 14 by 3. So yeah, that's that Saildrive all configured. I'll just go and do the other one.